Provost and Deputy Vice-Chancellor, as public orator, may I, Nigel Seasage, present Agnes Nisbett, a candidate for an honorary degree. Agnes Nisbett came to the UK in 1959 at the age of 21 from what was then the British colony of St Kitts and Nevis in the Caribbean. At home, she had qualified as a nurse, motivated by a desire to do credit to her father, who had died when she was 15, and inspired by her grandmother, who was a midwife. But when she applied to resume her nursing career in Leeds, she was told that her previous training and experience were irrelevant. Characteristically, Agnes took this not as a setback, but an opportunity. Instead of going through nursing training all over again, she decided to train as a midwife, at the same time as starting her own family, often working night shifts. The job of a midwife is a demanding one, but for Agnes, there was the additional challenge of racism. Some women in labour were abusive and demanded not to be touched by her because of the colour of her skin. In such circumstances, Agnes would not be provoked, relying both on her dedication and on her faith, continuing to provide the best possible care calmly, sympathetically, and professionally. A major turning point in Agnes's life, both personally and professionally, came in 1973, when she was pregnant for the third time, and her son John was stillborn. Agnes had delivered stillborn babies in the past, but her experience of the trauma as a mother was a revelation. It was normal practice at that time for the baby to be wrapped up and whisked away as quickly as possible, but Agnes persuaded her midwife to let her hold on to John for a few precious minutes. From that point, she resolved to do everything she could to ensure that the experience of future mothers would be different. When she'd returned to work and was armed with a budget as Leicester's first black nursing officer, Agnes pioneered what became known as the Born Whilst Sleeping programme at Leicester Royal Infirmary. She ensured that there was a room for women who'd experienced stillbirth, providing them with a sanctuary to grieve, away from other mothers and their newborns on the main maternity ward. The babies were no longer removed immediately, and the mothers had time with them. They were dressed in clothes sourced by Agnes, and midwives organised photographs and palm prints for the mothers to keep. Changing long-established custom and practice in a large institution demonstrated Agnes's considerable powers of persuasion and determination. The dedicated facility and other good practices initiated by Agnes are still at the heart of the hospital's maternity care today. Although she retired in 2004, Agnes has continued to be active in providing advice and talks on health in her community. Her life is filled, as it has been for years, with many hobbies like sewing and baking, which she found both practical and a relief from the pressures of work. She plays 3 or 4 games of Scrabble a day. She reads voraciously, being particularly fond of crime novels, and she is partial to the occasional drop of Remy Martin brandy. Her achievements in midwifery resulted in Agnes being given a well-deserved Pride of Britain Award in 2024. But if you talk to her about her achievements and the people and things that have mattered most to her, the conversation often turns to family, the independent spirit of her outgoing mother and aunt, her admiration for her younger sister, the first black woman magistrate in Leicester, and her determination to give her own children a solid foundation in life. This appreciation of others, underpinned by her deep Christian faith, have informed Agnes's practical devotion to the needs of pregnant women in Leicester, to which hundreds of letters of appreciation have borne witness. It is a relatively little-known fact that the University College of Leicester provided midwifery training from 1928 to 1947, a reminder of the depths of the university's roots in professional training across a range of clinical disciplines, and an additional reason for marking one exceptional midwife's achievements. As we celebrate the 50th anniversary of Leicester Medical School, it is particularly fitting that we pay tribute to Agnes Nisbett. We rejoice in her outstanding lifetime of care, overcoming prejudice, fostering inclusion, and bringing about real change which meets the needs of others in our community. Provost and Deputy Vice-Chancellor, on the recommendation of the Senate and the Council, I present Agnes Agatha Nisbett, that you may confer on her the honorary degree of Doctor of Science.
Once again, good afternoon. Thank you for this honor. I'm very grateful, and I'm a little overwhelmed to be standing here today. When I came to Leicester as a young woman from St. Kitts and Nevis, I didn't imagine a moment like this. I simply wanted to be a good nurse and a midwife, to care for people the way I had watched my mother care for others back home. Leicester became my home from the very beginning. Everything I have done has come from my upbringing and my faith. My work for bereaved mothers was never something I planned. It grew out of my own loss and the silence that surrounded it. When I lost my son John in 1973, I realized how many mothers were hurting quietly, with nowhere to go and no one to guide them through the pain. I promised myself if I could help even one mother feel less alone, I would do it. That promise shaped the rest of my life. The Born While Sleeping program was not just a service. It was a space for truth and comfort at the time when these things were very hard to find. We placed sleeping babies in their mother's arms. We took photographs. We gave mothers their babies' palm prints, and we listened. We helped them to find out where their babies had been laid to rest. We said the names that had never been spoken. It was simple work, but it mattered. I want to thank every mother who allowed me to stand with her in her darkest moments. They taught me strength. They taught me what real love looks like. I also want to thank the colleagues who worked beside me over the years. Midwives, doctors, chaplains, and volunteers who were not afraid to face grief with compassion. None of this could have been done alone. The Pride of Britain Award I received in 2024 was a blessing, but not for me, but because it opened the door for so many families who had carried their loss quietly for decades. People came forward with stories that they had never shared, and they found each other. This is a real reward. To the University of Leicester, thank you for recognizing this work. This honorary degree is not just for me. It is for every mother who suffered loss, every midwife who lifted her up, and every community member who supported these families along the way. It tells them their experiences mattered. Their children mattered. As I stand here or sit here, I think about the young midwives starting their careers. And I want to say this: listen closely to the people you care for. I'll repeat that. Listen closely to the people you care for. Listen to what is said, and more importantly, to what is not said. Sometimes the quietest voices are the ones that need you the most. Leicester has been my home for more than 60 years. It is where I found my purpose, my community, and my family. I am honored to receive this degree, and I accept it with gratitude, humility, and love. Thank you.